Greg Selby here for the show with Jake Berry and my friend. It's getting down to the brass tacks. With 3 teams left, we had 7 teams drop out. We're going to tell them all about it, ain't we?
Yeah, it was a cold weekend. It was football weekend anywhere else in the country.
Right, exactly. For us, it was a disaster.
Yeah, but and I'm from the Midwest, and I couldn't take the weather. I've been down here too long.
You know, ironically, of course, Friday was pretty rainy, but Saturday over at Bogus, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was during the day, and it was cold, and by the end of the day, you're kind of feeling chill, but I guess I can't complain too much. Bottom line, there were some great games.
Yeah, there were. And do you think that the weather actually played a part in this, and the performances of some of the teams?
No, in the game I saw, yes, Friday night and no Saturday. In the Edinburgh North game, I feel like that team is particularly well equipped to play in a tough weather game. They're more rugged, they're not as fancy. That helped them a bit. Now on Saturday with Harlingen and the team they played, Sharyland, obviously, I think the wind was probably more of a factor, and each team rode the wind when they had it. And so, this is one of the strategies that you have to go through and have to plan for. So, I don't think it was too bad Saturday.
Yeah, I think that Harlingen South, they had a hard time on Friday night.
Yeah, they did.
Catching those balls. They're a very quick team. But, I watched PI on Saturday, and that was a thing of beauty as far as watching their defense.
I'll tell you what, we were worried about Orange Grove. Now we're going to start worrying about Lavernia. So all these things are coming up. Now, let's just sum up the week that was by saying that, by and large, even though a lot of the teams dropped out, I feel like they generally made pretty good efforts.
I do too. I mean, normally we see some big blowouts.
Yeah, you can in the second round. You can see some.
And our teams held fast. Rio Grande was one of them.
Yeah, they got down. They came back. Los Fresnos, a 6-point game. La Villa had a couple of hiccups there halfway through, but they could have won that game. So I feel like even the teams that bowed out, Rivera was the only team that I think found out that it was overmatched. And hey, man, it's still a great season for them. So here's what we plan on doing. We're going to go down the games that were. We'll head into the games that are, and we'll even make probably a few little special stops along the way for the Coach of the Week and maybe even the Scholar Athlete. Sound good to you?
Sounds great.
Now, we don't know what the weather holds for this week, but essentially it doesn't matter because 3 teams in the Valley will be playing past Thanksgiving. Now, why are they doing that? Why are 3 teams playing past Thanksgiving and the rest go home? What can you say?
Well, I think we always knew that PI was a step above everybody else in their division.
In context,
yeah.
For sure.
Sharyland, I think they've proven that they're not a fluke.
No, they're no fluke.
Yeah,
it's a great program.
And Harlingen, I spoke to some people. They think they they got robbed. Whatever the story is. Sharyland won the game, and so I think what you see is that the cream rose to the top. I mean, I think Edinburgh North, who we thought maybe didn't have
a workmanlike team, though. Like I said, bad weather, workmanlike team. They just went to work with their lunch pails. I think the overarching premise here is that teams that execute in the second round will win. Those who do not will go home. The Harlingen Cardinals had plenty more yards than Sharyland. We're going to get there, but they didn't execute. They made mistakes, beginning, middle, and end. And therefore, the team that is less mistake-prone will generally win.
Mm-hmm. I think so, too. And I think what you saw on Friday with Edinburgh North was ground and pound.
Ground and pound and play some defense. Outside of 3 plays for a bunch of yards, they only gave up 174. Well, this is all to come here on the show. We're heading into our deep playoff edition with round 3 on the horizon. Right now, let's take a look at a few of the highlights that we have. Carlos, my friend, take it away.
We start with Harlingen versus Sharyland. First quarter, Lance Madden at quarterback, the 3-yard run. Rattlers are up 7-0. Same quarter, Brandon Garza at quarterback for the Cardinals, and he takes off running, just able to get in for the score. The 9-yard run right there. We're all tied up. Still in the first quarter, tied up. This is Madden looking. He's going to find Sean Landez. Now watch the blocking down the field from big old number 74, clearing the way, and it's 14-7, Sharyland on top. In the second quarter, Garza goes to work hitting C.J. Gallegos, and it's 14-14. Harlingen leading in the fourth quarter, about to extend the lead here, but there's a fumble right at the goal line, and the Sharyland Rattlers recover the football. Then they go to work here. Watch the middle screen here. Running down the field to the 40, at midfield, still going, and right inside the 15-yard line. After a penalty, the ball goes back 5 yards, but it didn't matter. This is Brandon Garza, Sharyland's quarterback, Brandon Garza. He hits Landez for the game winner, and Sharyland wins by a final score of 23-17. 20. Laredo Alexander versus Brownsville Rivera. Yes, this game played on Friday night where it was wet, rainy, windy, and cold, and it was all Laredo Alexander. Aaron Swain hits Mark Lozoya here, and they win it by a final score of 56-0. Port Isabel versus Orange Grove. Jose Gordo Garza scores, and it's 7-0 Tarpons lead. Orange Grove, though, they were tied up right here. Hondo Harris hits Matthew Pretty with a nice little pass, 34 yards, and then PI starts to pour it on here. Watch this. This is Juan Aguilera, the 26-yard run, 14-7 Port Isabel. Then the Tarpons again right here. This time, a little trickery. Trey Mock to Luis Bennett, makes the catch at the 1, goes in for the score. PI, they win it by a final score of 40-7.
You know, they're very good at what they do, and we knew that. So we just tried to get a good pass rush. We tried to do a great job of jamming the receivers and trying to get in the throwing lanes. And defensively, we got after it. We were physical. We were doing a lot of jamming and disrupting the routes.
It feels amazing, all the hard work that we put in, even before 2 days. We've been working at this since we lost to Belleville last year, and we haven't forgot that. We're using that as motivation.
Well, Edinburgh North, as we said, has now set a school record for wins with 11. We didn't say that. We're saying it now. It's okay. First time you've heard that. Probably maybe, unless you read the story. Bottom line is they scored 39 points on South. They got 514 yards. Are you a little surprised that they were able to have that much offensive success against a defense that was among the best and is among the best in the valley?
You know, I wondered how it would be because, you know, look, everybody knew that their quarterback for Edinburgh North, you know, wasn't going to kill them. Wasn't going to kill anybody. They could pretty much zone in on the runs, but I mean, you could zone in on all the runs you want, but they couldn't stop it.
I think it's a case of outstanding backs because let's face it, man, with David Ansaldo, the big left tackle, out for the Cougars, they still rushed for 423 yards or some such. Matt Whiteside, you can expect to be great every week, but I thought Adrian Alvarez was the story, man. That kid ran like the wind. He was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think what you also saw was that their defense came alive. I mean, look, I'll be the first one. I thought after the Sharyland game maybe it was a fluke, but their defense came back and started hitting.
Sure they did, and I'll tell you this. Montemayor had a great night throwing the deep ball for South. He had a couple of beautiful bombs to Grant Preciado, and you will just not see a better pass and catch and run than those. Other than that, though, Jaden Taylor had 106, okay? 46 yards on one run, so basically the North defense did its job. Like I said, take away those 3 big plays, it's 174 for South. I feel like North is probably a better bad weather game. It's just a replay of last year, 14-3 in the rain at Harlingen South over in Bogus. I think North has to be pleased with the win. And speaking of quarterback play, Alex Guerrero took off for a 27-yard run, a 36-yard run in the first half. He found a way to make his team effective. He only completed a couple of passes, but one of them was a big one too. Cantu took a little flip on the right, went 61 yards down the sidelines. No, I thought North played great football. Harlingen South didn't play poorly. They just, I felt like they were a little bit off their game.
I think the rain played into it because, you know, they're a quick strike team. They like to do they're kind of like Harlingen and Sharyland.
They raise up, they throw a long one, 15-yard outs, and it was going through the kids' hands because the ball was heavy and slick.
Yeah.
They never got going except for the long balls. They never hit those intermediate routes that they generally do. And like I said, a great back like Jaden Taylor, you can hold him to 60 yards on the rest of his carries. That's pretty good work by North. I will add something else as we start to talk about steal in North, which is going to be tough. Edinburgh North now has 39 takeaways in 12 games. That's another reason why we say they have one of the best defenses in the valley, because they will not only stop you, but they will take the ball away from you.
Yeah, and who took the ball away 3 times during that game?
Joey Benitez, and that guy is a ball hawk like crazy. They got all the injured kids back in the secondary. They played a complete 4-quarter game on defense, and Benitez was everywhere. Interception at the end of the game, at the end of the half, on a big drive. He just has a knack for the ball. We said it much earlier in the year, and he's one of those guys who tends to know before anyone else where to go and what to do when he gets there. I was really impressed with his game.
Yeah, I think, you know, that really sets the tone as far as Nick Garcia getting loose and Preciado. You know, you know, because you know you have somebody back there that can actually play the ball.
And those kids can jump too. And you know, the thing is, each one of those secondary kids made a play or two. Benitez was the star, but Roy Cantu came up and he made a couple of big tackles. So I mean, No, look, North is a good football team. They're not going to put highlight reel plays on the board every time. Although they did run Matt Ramirez in the Wildcat early on. He ended up with 74 yards, part of that 514 yards. I thought they did everything right. And I think South, if those two teams played each other 10 times, I bet you it'd be 5-5. It just so happened that in a bad weather game, I felt like North was a tougher team. They were more physical.
Yeah, and I think they had the offense. I mean, that was their offense was built for chewing at the clock, pounding and pounding and pounding until you get the defense tired.
What I say, since August, they lean on you, they wear on you, and they just take you down. Now, this week against Steele, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a slightly different team than Harlingen South.
Steele is, I mean, we've said it many times, I've written it, the last 3 years plus, 17 playoff wins, they won a state championship, they went to the finals and lost, they went to the semifinals and lost. This is a very good team with only one loss to our friends Madison, who we'll talk about later in the show. Bottom line is Steele is one of the best football teams in the state of Texas. So what does Edinburgh North do? And I don't need no smart remarks, because he's been on North's tail a little bit this year.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: no turnovers. They're going to have to make. They're going to have to get those 50-50 plays are going to have to go their way. There's going to be a little bit of luck to it.
You've got to have luck if you're the underdog. I would say they're a 21-point underdog.
Yeah.
There's no lying about it. Big deal. So bottom line is you show up, because Edinburgh North's the type of team, look, I'm telling you, they're going to put their lunch pails in their hand. They're going to go to work. The thing is, it has to be decent early. They've been in the third round 3 times now, 2009, 2012, and now. Now in 2009, they got that great Brandeis team, but it was 14-14 in the second quarter until Brandeis in the third quarter exploded or late second. You just have to start well against a team like that. Let me tell you what happened to Reagan against Steele this weekend, okay? And Reagan is a great football team. Ty Summers is going to Rice. He's a quarterback. They turned the ball over a couple times early, 5 times in all, and before you know it, Steele was all over them like a pair of pants, 49-20. Justin Stockton took the first handoff of the game and went 75 yards for a touchdown. He's a great running back. So Steele has it all, man. They're big, they're fast, they're strong, and they're experienced. Edinburgh North, like you say, they got to kick and punt well. They can't give any freebies away, any gimmies away, and they just got to roll the dice and see what happens. I'll tell you what, of all the teams in the Valley, I expect them to come out and play hard and not quit. What I mean is that if you're asking me what team could possibly face that challenge and not wilt, it's that team, because they don't have a lot of ego, they don't have a lot of flash and dash, they just line up and play football. I like their chances of making it interesting. Last year was 38-0, which you say is a total blowout, and on the other hand, I mean, they've beaten teams worse all year, so I don't know what you say.
Well, you know what? I think that the good thing is it's Valley Week for those teams up there. They like to joke about how they're playing the Valley teams.
Maybe they'll overlook North.
Exactly.
They know they beat them last year. It's the same team, right? They think. I feel like North. Here's my recipe for the upset special, which of course you may think is outlandish, but I think Edinburgh North's going to have to throw the ball a little bit. And I know they don't particularly care to, but I'll tell you again. I've said it before. This guy, Guerrero, can throw a nice looping deep ball. Now, here's the thing about a looping deep ball. Steele's going to have guys in the secondary that have tremendous wheels. But I feel like if they throw the ball early a little bit, then who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, and look, you're going to need big plays. I think we've seen
exactly.
Every team we've seen that has competed against a San Antonio team has had big plays. Some would say lucky plays. That's okay. You need lucky, big plays.
When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the Harlingen-Sharyland game, in which I think luck was on the side of one team for a while and one team for another while. So it was one of the most interesting games I've seen in a while. Now, to finish up on North, we go back to the Harlingen-South game. Harlingen-South, I believe, going forward, this season for them, and 10 wins, I think it establishes them year and year here as a team that should be counted on next year to be very good. I mean, in other words, I feel like they're just getting started.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're building something nice over there.
Well, we shall see. As for Edinburgh North, the game is what, Friday or Saturday? Have we figured out when that is? I think we have, but this is one of those moments on the show where we totally screwed up, so it's all right, no big deal.
Yeah, we'll have it. It'll be flashing right now on here.
Oh, it will?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. That'll save us from looking at a complete idiot. All right, so now what do we do?
Well, let's go to our South Texas College Student Athlete of the Week.
Okay, well that's because we've had a great group of kids this year that I think you can really say have been tremendous and special in all ways, and so we're going to have a couple more before the season is out, thanks to SDC. Show us what they got.
Does everybody see that? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's film session for Brittany Diaz and the West Locoise Lady Wildcats. For Diaz, she is in the middle of what could be a very long day.
By the time we get home from practice, it's already late, and having to manage both is pretty difficult, but I always manage somehow.
After watching film, the Lady Wildcats still have to hit the gym as they prepare for their district opener the next day.
Usually we get out like at 7, 8, and I usually go home, eat, take a shower, and start doing my homework until I finish. Whatever time I finish is time to go to sleep. Sometimes like I'll go to sleep like at 1 or 2, 3 maybe.
Brittany has always been an honor student. Her GPA is above 90. She's taking accelerated classes. She says it's all about managing her time.
School comes first for me, so I put school first, and that's how I've managed to get everything done and be successful.
Brittany would like to study medicine after high school and hopefully one day be an orthopedic surgeon. Her inspiration is her mother.
She's pretty hardworking. She manages to do 2 jobs. So she works in the nursing home at Retama Nursing Home, and she works at a home health agency. So she's really hardworking because she's a single parent. So it's pretty rough. So, and she somehow manages to do it late hours because she works at night, late hours, and then waking up and still going. So she's pretty inspiring. She works hard.
Brittany Diaz, the South Texas College Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Well, Jake, this was rematch weekend, and we had Harlingen South and we had Edinburgh North. We also had Sharyland and Harlingen, a redux of 2012. This time, Sharyland has a little bit harder of a time, but they made it 2-0 over Harlingen, 23-20.
Yeah, and this was one of those games where a lot of people were waiting for Harlingen to come back and kick the crap out of them, and it didn't happen.
No.
I was a little amazed. You know, I saw the score of 7-0. What did it go, 7-7?
Yeah, and then Sharyland got up. Harlingen tied it. Harlingen 17-14. Tied it up 17, then 20-17, and Sharyland at the end. So I guess the main thing that stands out to me, and I kind of mentioned it in the opening, was that I'm not used to seeing a Harlingen team make so many mistakes. There were 3 mistakes I think they made that you can count to that are probably the death knell. The first is to give away a touchdown the first minute of the game. They fumbled the ball. Sharyland got it to 23. Madden with a nice little pass to Laredo, and then he ran it in himself. You could have driven a truck through that hole. 7-0, and it's Harlingen that usually makes those quick bang scores, and this time it was the Rattlers.
Yeah, and I was amazed at, let's just say, I thought it was going to be more one-sided. I thought one team was going to come out there and really take it to them, and it wasn't really the case. It was very defensive-oriented.
It was nip and tug. The defenses held. The offenses would get a few first downs, but the defense would stop them. I thought it was a tremendous football game. The second mistake, though, back to our list, Harlingen is up 3. 6 minutes to go. They're driving in for the put-away score. It'll be a 10-point lead, and that's probably it. They fumble at the goal line. None other than our friend Sean Landez, more on him later, comes up with the ball, and from there Sharyland drives for the winning touchdown. You cannot give the ball away inside the 10. Gruya did the same thing. So, you can't win a ball game doing that. Mistake number 3, they get another chance. The defense was played pretty well. The Harlingen defense played well. They forced a punt inside of the last 2.5 minutes. On 4th and 4, they jump off sides, the kid's in the neutral zone, a 5-yard penalty, ball game. So you can't make those mistakes. You can make one of those mistakes in a playoff game against a great team and expect to win. 2, you're pushing it. 3, you're done. That's just all there is to it.
Now, was there a fumble in there that was maybe a little bit iffy? Was that the one in the inside the 10?
There were several fumbles that Harlingen appears to feel were iffy. In fact, there were 3 in the first half. None were called. As I wrote, if you have time to read, not 4,500 word tome, it took me umpteen hours. In my opinion, I feel that one might have been a fumble, but the others probably were not. Here's the thing. Harlingen's goal and game plan on defense was to intimidate Sharyland, to hit those quarterbacks, and make them fumble the ball. They did that, they thought. I think most of them were when the kids were down or, not a fumble. I happen to think that they may have lost a little concentration because they were really mad at the refs. And there are 2 or 3 different instances where they really, really were incensed. Bottom line is you got to play on. Now, here's the real deal. If you want to add number 4 to the reason of why Sharyland won. We haven't gotten the things they did well yet. I'm just running down the mistakes. You get the other team at home, and you have the revenge factor, and you get their 3rd-string quarterback in the game. And if you can't finish that deal, then you don't go on.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it. And, there's nothing personal.
And that's a little surprising too, because Chrysler didn't play.
No.
He had Madden in most of the game, and then he got hurt.
And Lance played that first half, and he did a pretty good job. I feel like the more he plays, the better he's going to get. But he went out, and after the game, Coach Adame, he's the type, he doesn't really want to air his laundry in public. He makes his decisions, and his staff, and he's not going to go blabbering to the media about it. Bottom line is, the other kid came in, Brandon Garza. The other Brandon Garza. In the story I was calling him Brandon the Younger. You got to kind of know your medieval stuff. Anyway, he did a pretty good job. Now look, he was a quarterback in the past. He's been a great receiver, baseball, basketball. A guy probably plays tiddlywinks and marbles. He's an incredible athlete, and he did the job. It wasn't aesthetically perfect, but he did the job, including some balls to Landes. And here's where we need to bring in the Sharyland side of the story, because the bottom line is, you can say Harlingen have made a bunch of mistakes. They left it out there for him, and Sharyland took it, and they deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. You capitalize on those kind of things.
They did.
And you can't really hold a team accountable, because you can't say, oh no, the refs did it and stuff like that.
No.
One team has to take advantage of those mistakes.
I felt like Sharyland was a sharper team. I thought Landes, who was a junior, was by far the finest player on the field. I very rarely, and I told him this, I've very rarely seen a kid have an amazing game like that and will his team to victory. Guy had 10 tackles. He recovered a fumble. He made a bunch of blocks. He scored a couple of touchdowns. He did everything. He was killing people in the secondary.
Have you ever seen a guy that's not a running back or a quarterback have that much influence on a game?
Well, like I say, Diego Garcia for Ed Couch is a guy that's always had kind of a big impact, and you saw that in that playoff game against Alice. But no, not really. I was thinking of Iracheta for Port Isabel back in 2003. I was thinking of Meshach. Of course, these are backs. But I was thinking of Meshach, the way he single-handedly beat Edinburgh North in 2007, 62-49, 7 touchdowns. Did the Anthony Davis from the 70s. That was one of the most fun stories I ever wrote. So, bottom line is, Landes, he just has a great motor. He has an amazing, bouncy, athletic body. He's strong as a little bull. And the thing is, he got great hands. And he just has a blast out there playing, man. He's always talking and goofing around and being cool. I mean, the guy, he's an exceptional player. He really is. And in some games, even though they had 150 fewer yards, Landes was the difference. That and the mistakes. That and the fact, it's like all these ands, etc. Sharyland, look, they didn't panic, man, when Brandon came in. They didn't panic. They just kept playing, and they were there when the opportunity presented itself, and they beat them fair and square. Now, the conversation turns, as I wrote. Do you begin to say then that over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, Sharyland is the best program in the Valley, 5A?
Well,
People are asking me.
They've turned the corner since Coach Adame's taken over. Since Ron's came in, the big, if you were going to poke fun at Sharyland before, was they couldn't win the big ones.
Couldn't get past the Edinburgh schools in the second round 2 years in a row. Of course, those were good teams. You weren't going to beat Stevie Cordero that year. There's just no way. He took him on his back, man, at the last minute. I don't know. I think Sharyland, having beaten Harlingen twice, can say that, yes, right now they have the edge over Harlingen. And I'm glad they did from their standpoint, because with this split coming up, hey, man, I'm not so sure that they're going to be able to say, for a couple of years who's doing what to whom. In other words, it's going to be a lot harder splitting from one school to two. Ask Harlingen back in 92 or 3 when they created South, right? So it was a great way for the Rattlers to go out. Okay, they've been undefeated last year. They got beat in the 3rd round. This year they make it again, follow the path. And what do they get? A rematch with Madison. It's going to be great, though. I don't feel like Madison's unbeatable. Do you?
No, and they've lost 3 games.
Yes, they have.
Now the problem is who they've lost their games to is a little bit, and who they beat. So.
They lost to Reagan. They lost to Johnson. Who else? Somebody else. Smithson Valley.
Yeah.
Who did they beat? Steele. So Madison may be 9-3, but they have the potential. They have a stack of athletes that, if they play their game, are capable of doing great things. This reminds me of 2011, okay? Because you remember correctly, friend, we were saying, well, if all 6 of the great players for Madison play well, Harlingen will not win. 5 out of 6 played well, Harlingen did not win. I don't think this Madison team is quite as good as that one, although they do have a really good quarterback. Cody Ennis is a big kid. He rushed for 100, threw for 200, and their win, who did they beat? They beat O'Connor. That's right. They beat O'Connor. They got revenge. Last year, O'Connor beat them, went to the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
So they got past them this time. It's a very good team. Here's the weakness, okay? If you keep this in mind, Madison gives up 24 points a game. Now, you can say that their defense isn't that good, or you can say they played in a district that's very good and had incredible non-district competition. I think both are correct. Mm-hmm. So what that means is 24 a game, 3 losses. That's about commensurate down in the Valley with 12 or 15 points a game on defense, and an undefeated or a one-loss team. In other words, the quality of the football in San Antonio area is that much better than ours overall. I feel like we've narrowed the gap. I don't feel like we're weak sisters. They can say Valley Week all they want. And tell them to bring it down here and say that. You know what I'm saying? What I'm getting at is that, Madison may have 3 losses, but it's still a favorite against Sharyland, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And they're favored really if Madden's not playing, because if Chrysler's not going,
Number 1 on my list. You're trying to cheat off my notes here.
Sorry.
The quarterback situation. I am proud of Brandon Garza. Garza the younger, even though he's probably not even younger. But I had to use that for the literary sake. You understand? The fact is, that kid was a gutty gamer, and he got it done. The first time he touched the ball, he ran 12 yards. He was twisting and turning and moving and it was amazing. Harlingen was trying to kill the quarterback constantly. Okay, intimidate and knock people out. And I don't mean illegally. Well, you know what? They did that, and Sharyland still won, and Brandon deserves a lot of credit. Now, if he were to start this game against Madison, that's a way more difficult muster than if Madden has started. I'm not saying Brandon's bad, he's good. It's just that here's a kid who's played, 3 or 4 games under center. Mm-hmm. You would like to have that be the case, or I don't even know how Diego was. He looked like he was kind of gingerly moving around. So in other words, get the quarterback situation figured out. If it's Brandon, he gets a whole week of practice to work and take snaps and do some good things that he can do. Yeah. Something easy, something safe, and then allow him to be an athlete, because he is.
Yeah, and I think really there's a big problem that Sharyland has is that they don't have what Weslaco had when they faced Madison in Weslaco. When was that?
2007. 57-42.
Yeah, they had Meshach. And Meshach accounted for just about everything in that game.
Meshach.
He just ran.
Meshach.
They couldn't stay with him.
Amazing. No. Yeah. Old Street, he was like, oh, they played.
Yeah.
We've got lucky to win. Of course, he always says that.
Yeah.
Going to win state, he'll say they got lucky. Here's the deal. If I was Madison, I'd be watching the Sharyland film and be like, who's at number 7? That guy's unbelievable. Let's put 2 guys on him. In other words, if we saw him break out, then they saw him break out. So if you're Sharyland, what do you do about that?
Well, I think they got a lot of receivers.
Yes,
okay?
They do.
Now,
you're cheating again.
Sorry. They've got a ton of receivers. They've got a ton of weapons to throw to. Now, the question is, who's going to throw them the ball, and can he get them the ball? But look, I mean, they run just what Harlingen does. Those jet sweeps, and they've got a nice little option, but what they have is basically it's hard to stop, but it also at the same time you gotta have the right personnel in.
Here's the deal to me: if they key on and spy Landes, he's gonna have to do something interesting, which to me is a no-brainer. He can throw a touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. I really feel like that guy's a good enough athlete. I don't know if he can throw that great, but they're going to come to him. So when they come to him, just don't be surprised if you heard it here first, I predict. Now, if Landes is not able to do what he did last week, and who's to say that he's not, because it was a phenomenal effort, Christian Martinez, they're relatively quiet against Harlingen. I expect that guy to go bananas because he's a great player. He's had a wonderful season. This will be a perfect time for him to lift his team into competition with Madison by having a great game, and I predict that it might happen.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to find is that Sharyland's going to have to kind of go into the game not as intimidated as a lot of people, have been when they play San Antonio teams.
Yeah. Or Westlake.
Yeah. When they see a 6-foot corner, they can't. Oh no.
Or a 260-pound end that runs a 4.8 going to Kansas State. Hey, it's a great player, but you know what? Just cut him. It's okay. He'll go down. Everybody goes down. So in other words, if they can get, and here's the thing: Sharyland's never struck you as the intimidating type team, but their defense is good, man. I really feel like their defense can hang with Madison. Here's the problem. A couple of big plays and your team will get demoralized. So you got to get past that first quarter without no long runs and then, the kind of hold the ball up stuff and you're out. I feel like Sharyland is the best chance we have. Obviously, they're one of the only 5A teams left. So why can't they, in the rematch with Madison, compete and very possibly, if they get the breaks, win the ball game?
Yeah.
I mean, 13-0 if they did.
That would be a great story. It'd be a great story, I actually had the chance today to watch Friday Night Lights.
I cried at that film. Last movie I saw in a theater, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, it's been many years.
But look, it's all about weathering the storm. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to have to weather that first second quarter storm, and then after halftime.
Because Byron and Dominique Daniels are great athletes. Ennis is a great quarterback. They have lost 3 times, so they do know the feeling of losing. So if you come out and do something big early on, get a return, get a block, get some kind of big play for a touchdown, who knows? Maybe they start downing themselves. Mm-hmm. They're not Steele. They may have beaten Steele in the first game of the season. Steele was not ready, in my opinion. Madison had everything clicking, 46-45. From there, though, they lost 3 times. Mm-hmm. That means they're not invincible.
Yeah. I like this matchup.
There's one thing that Sharyland has to do beyond the things we've talked about. They did not kick the ball well, and they did not cover the ball exceptionally well against Harlingen. They gave up a couple of long returns. They missed an extra point. They missed a field goal. They need to get that thing figured out, and they need to make those kicks. Now, Brandon Garza, if he plays quarterback, will also be the punter. It's going to make him a little tired. He'd be like Dan Pastorini in the 70s for the Oilers, a punter and quarterback. He's potentially a great punter. Sometimes he'll get a hold of one and whistle it down there on a spiral. Looks like he threw it 50 yards. So they've got to have great special teams, which they have all season for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be at this game. So
Friday at 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
We're at Cabanis?
At Cabanis.
Cabanis Field in Corpus Christi. Hey, guys, bottom line is this. This is the best team that we got. This is the king of the valley for now, maybe for the last couple of years. Let's everybody support and see what we can do up there, because you know what? I'm getting tired of Madison beating us. Let this be the year.
Amen.
Yeah. Anyway, easy for me to say I'm sitting in the chair. But now, hey, man, look, bottom line is I had a great time over at Harlingen, and I had a great time in Edinburgh. We had a wonderful weekend. This is not, we're just hitting the 5A scene. We're going to go down to 4As, 3As, and whoever is left. But just to say that it's been a wonderful season so far, I don't want to see it end.
No.
I mean, obviously, I'm not telling you something you don't know. You don't want to see it end.
No.
Although, let's face it, we're getting a little weary. At this point, man, I felt I got to that Harlingen game. It was 3 in the morning. I said, I guess I better go to bed.
Yeah.
Holy cow. But I was still fired up, man, after seeing all those great kids. I really feel like I need to repeat one more time. I'm being repetitive. Of course, that's what repeating means. Sean Landes. You will not see a kid play that fine a ball game. And it wasn't really the numbers. It was more the kid's attitude. And every time they needed something, he did it. He ran across the field, and he hit Rosales and Gasca, and I thought it was like gunshots. I thought the kids wouldn't get up. To their credit, and they're both tough as nails, they did. But man, Landes can hit, and he can run, he can catch. Like I said, let me see in the box score they threw a touchdown pass, and I'll be satisfied.
Yeah. It'd be cool.
Then it'll be like Gordy Lockbaum. Remember that guy from Holy Cross in the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
That little small school guy that almost won the Heisman. Anyway, we go along in this segment. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite, Port Isabel. Port Isabel, the Tarpons, their perennial playoff trip, long journey types. Could they be on the road to another Final Four? Could they be on the road to the region final? We're going to find out this week against Laverny. But first, let's talk about the game you saw, Orange Grove against Port Isabel. Boy, I was really worried about Hondo Harris before the game, and as it turns out, I had nothing to worry about.
No, look, the kid had all the stats, 41 TDs.
6 interceptions.
Yeah, well, 42 because he had one in this game. But man, they pinched him. The ends pinched him, and they just forced him into the linebackers, and they honestly held that team
40-7.
Yeah, I mean they held that team. They were weak in that team. I mean, I don't want to say that team's weak, but they made them look weak.
Wow, and that's the mark of a great team, is that you take the other team out of what it likes to do and you make them look bad. A great team will make a good team look bad. That's the bottom line. Okay, so moving forward now, you say those defensive ends, do you? Well, I heard that Giat had 3 sacks. That gives him 10 for the season. They've got those 3 big kids. Giat, Benavides, 76. So the more you watch of him, he is a very fast guy for 320 pounds. That guy's scary. When he pulls out of there like a Mack truck, he's not slow by any means.
No, and the thing about that defense is they have good corners. They have good cover corners, and their linebackers are fast enough to cover the flats.
Right. Montelongo, 42, is a lanky kid who can really run. He's got a lot of attitude. But Montelongo, who I'm talking about, who was 40? Mondragon.
Yeah.
I'm going to forget that name. He's not the biggest guy, but he's got a nose for the ball. Those guys are cheating up to the line at the snap. It may not be a blitz. They just want to get a closer look, and they may come, they may not. They do a lot of freelancing on their own, I think.
Yeah, the one thing I can say about this team is, and a lot of people knocked us throughout the year when we had them number 1, and they're saying, they couldn't compete with one of these 5
Well, we
teams.
can understand that line of reason.
Look at the highlights, and you're going to see that their ends are sometimes bigger than what you see at a 5A.
Oh, yeah.
Their linebackers are bigger than a lot of the teams I saw in 35A.
Yeah, I think so.
They have a good team. Now, their quarterback is not the same height
not
as
the
them,
biggest guy in the
but man,
world.
heart, leadership, man, hey, he's the guy. Martinez is the guy.
I've been watching a lot of Port Isabel in the videos. I watched the Zapata game. People think that Mark can't throw the ball. Well, he's got 68% completions, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His stats have gotten better from sophomore to junior to senior. Yards per carry, completion percentage. With that big line and with those lead blockers they have, he has a lot of time to do the things he can do, and I think he's a very effective leader. Now, here's the deal. You watch 90 Ramirez and 31 Gordo Garza. Those guys will come in motion, and they'll set up a wing back and a tight end. Aguilera, 22, will be a lead blocker, and they'll just explode on people and drive them out of there, and then they pitch that ball and go. I think Port Isabel has a pretty good chance to keep going.
And one thing that PI did that's going to help them as far as scouting, for the other team trying to scout them, is that they threw in some wrinkles. I mean, they threw a receiver pass.
A freshman got in there, mocked threw the ball for a touchdown. L.B. Bennett, number 10, got 3 interceptions, a couple of long balls as a receiver. If he has a big game, then that's going to be all they need to put him over the top, because they're probably going to be able to run the ball. Now, let's talk about Lavernia. You ever heard of Lavernia before?
I think I saw it on a map.
Yeah, not Lavernia and Shirley from the 70s, but Lavernia is about 30 minutes outside of San Antonio Metro. It's a small town. Those are country boys. The Bears from 28-3A. They beat out Pleasanton this year to win that district. They beat Wharton. They beat some good teams. They've only got 1 loss, and they're a pretty good team. I think that that's going to be something for them.
Now, the one thing is, though, that they don't have the experience. Look, a lot of times we say the experience, and everybody's like, "Well, the experience." They weren't in the playoffs last year.
No, and they've been in the playoffs 4 or 5 times, 6 times. They're consistent, but last year was a down year. So the group they have has not been to this extent yet, to this stage yet. Meanwhile, Port Isabel is a very seasoned senior veteran club. They went 4 deep last year. I feel like they have the edge experience. I think they have the edge in size, although Lavernia is not small.
No. But the thing is, PI is not either. They're not going to be your typical undersized Valley team. They're a meaty team. Maybe at running back, they're not as
They've got
big.
little backs, but they got big kids blocking for them. And those little guys, Gonzalez and Lozoya, can take off and run. You mentioned something that I found interesting, that they offered a few wrinkles against Orange Grove. Every game I see of theirs, they have a wrinkle. They'll go from the I. They'll go from the pro set. They'll go 1 back. I haven't seen them run empty yet, but who knows? Maybe they do. They got that triple stack with 1 back behind each other, and then out of that they'll fake it, and the quarterback will run it.
Yeah.
So they're always tricking you, man. They've got great physical talent. They've got good speed, and they are a very tricky team that is always pulling out some wrinkle, and not to the point where they get confused with what they're trying to do, but at the right time on the field. It's what Joe Paterno used to do all the time at Penn State. You knew that sooner or later there was going to be some wrinkle they pulled out, and it was a halfback pass. So Darryl Royal, the same way back in the day, when you use that trick play is what matters, and when it works, the other team goes, it totally deflates them.
Yeah, and here's the one thing that they've lost an OC, they lost a DC this year, but yet the consistent thing is that they have the right players there, and they got stumped. I mean, there's something to be said about Coach Stumbaugh, because look, I like the guy. I think he's probably one of the funniest coaches I've been around.
He's awesome, man.
Look, offer him a contract extension now, because what he's doing there, especially with that offense, their defense is incredible.
3 deep back-to-back for the 2nd year in a row, the first time that's happened in a decade. Now, Lavernia Bears like to run the ball, but they can throw it. I've seen a couple of games, I was looking at their stats, where the quarterback, a guy named Skelton, not Red Skelton, by the way, you have to be old to remember that one, from the 50s. They will throw the ball. He was 10 out of 14 against Somerset. You know who the quarterback is for Somerset?
It's Ty Detmer's nephew, right?
Corey Detmer's son.
Yeah.
That's right. And which I guess technically is a nephew. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Corey Detmer Jr. had a big game. This Skelton kid can throw the ball. He had 137 yards in another game. So they're like PI. When they have to throw it, or when they want to throw it, or when throwing is given to them, they take it. I will remind you that Martinez of Port Isabel threw for 4 touchdowns against Zapata, 161 yards. They were airing it out, man. When you get the time to throw, when that big line is blocking people and you got your lead blocker and your fullback, you can throw. And I think he can throw, and I think they will throw a little bit against Lavernia.
Yeah, and I've heard some people try to knock Martinez by saying he's too short to throw with the line. I'm sitting there going, look, he's been short all his life.
I haven't heard him yet.
Yeah, I think he's realized what he has to do to get the ball out. And if you saw him in the summers, I follow the team in the summers, and look, you'll never see a better leader. You'll never see a guy that knows how to get the ball where it needs to go.
Yeah, you don't have to have a great arm to be a good thrower.
Yeah. Look at Doug Flutie. I mean,
That's
Doug
right,
Flutie.
man.
I mean,
you got to be accurate.
Yeah.
And you got to be smart, and the play has to be called at the point in time on the field, talking about placement and whatnot, where it's the right time to throw. He don't throw, but I think he completes what? They try 6 or 8 passes maybe a game. But you know what? 3 or 4 of those passes will be very effective. No, I think Port Isabel is a favorite. I'm going up to see that one. Are you going to go? Or?
I'm going to go.
You'll be there.
I'm going to go with you.
Oh, okay, good. I think it's going to be a fun time. Port Isabel, now, again, as we said last week, the pressure's on PI. This is the 3rd round. They won here last year. They went to the 4th round and finally lost to Belleville. Here's what's happening after this game. Now, if you want to turn off your set and not listen to this and because you're afraid I'm going to jinx you, Navarro lost, guys. The team that they had to beat in the 3rd round last year, they got beat. Quail beat them 51-44. So it's going to be Quail against Senton. Senton beat Zapata. That was not a problem. Although, you know, Zapata's a pretty salty team. They have the world's biggest kicker, that left-footed kicker. That guy's amazing. Now, here's the thing. Senton and Quail are perennial powers. They've both been great for a long time, but neither one is as good as PI this year. I think if PI beats Lavernia, they win the region, man.
You think so?
Yeah.
So I'm not wrong by saying that I thought you were going to say that they were going to make the semifinals.
Yeah, they're going to the Final Four, dude. I mean, well, wait. Are we going to win jinx or anything? They probably don't want to hear that. Although, you know what? So they do. They want to hear that people have confidence in them. I think PI always has confidence, man. Coach Tony used to tell me, and Tommy Roberts, Alex Leal, all those guys used to tell me, when they stepped on the field, they didn't ask whether they're going to win. They just figured, how much are we going to win by? And guys like Giat, they have that attitude. Look, the heart of the team, as far as I'm concerned, and, you know, there's a bunch of great players. Aguilera, 22. Gordo, 31. They block up the middle. They come up and make a ton of tackles. You know, there are all kinds of great players, but those 2 little stocky, tough guys, man, I think they exemplify the PI attitude. They're not scared of nobody. I know they're not.
No, I like this team, and I think that out of all the teams, as far as the matchups too, they've got the best one. They've got the most confidence. I like their chances.
This is the time of year when I get all fired up and kind of get bitter about the other teams. Man, I want to kill Lavernia. I've never even been there, but I want to beat those guys to death, man. Hey, and it's great, though, because when you have a one Valley team against another team from who knows where, we can all be on the same bandwagon. That's why I expect the Harlingen Cardinal fans to be rooting for Sharyland, as tough as that sounds, and the Harlingen South Hawks to be rooting for North. Because what you do is you want the group you play with and against to look good. And if those teams go out there and score an upset, or if they win the ball game, or at least if they play hard and knock the crap out of somebody, they'll remember us next time they're talking about us, and they won't be saying, eh. Because I don't think they really say that anymore. I think that Valley Week thing is kind of a thing of the past. Here's my thing, Jake, and I was thinking about it on the way over here. Just because we haven't gone as far in the playoffs as some of those San Antonio schools, does that mean that we're not as good at people?
Yeah.
Does it mean that we're not working hard in our homes and making good families and being God-fearing people? That means nothing of the sort. The bottom line is you should expect a team from a big metro area with some of the advantages they have to be a little bit better than us. And so at times when we can go up there and compete and we can, you know, take a chink out of their armor, that's fantastic, man. I don't have an inferiority complex, and I feel like people in the Valley don't either. We do as well as we can, and we enjoy the ball games. That's why I called it the Valley Super Bowl last week. Rematch Super Bowl, all these silly things. Because I know that it's going to be tough for us to win. We could easily come back here next week and be eating crow for 3 losses, man.
Yeah.
You think so, or you think PI is going to win?
Yeah, I think PI is going to win. I think PI, and I'm with you. I think they're going to go to the state semis.
Lavernia is not any better than Navarro was. Okay, so they won that game. They're certainly I didn't even know if they're as good as Orange Grove was. Boy, Orange Grove, like you said, I think PI made a real good team look bad. And I wasn't there, but that's what I gathered from your notes and everyone else's stuff. You know.
Yeah, I thought that. Look. PI's defense is awesome, and their offense is better than last year. So the problems that they had against Belleville, they're not going to have it this year because Isaiah knows how to throw the ball. Then he knows the offense. It's his show. It's his show.
Your starter. You know, the only thing that worries me, they don't have big backs. Okay, so I think what that means is that blocking we're talking about. Look at some of the films of the PI blockers, the offensive line, the backs, the wing back, Ramirez, the tight end. They get after it. They'll run double tights. They'll run like the old 70s wing tee. They'll spread it out. It's a very versatile team. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. Guys, I wish you luck. Go up there and kick somebody's butt. Can we say that?
Yeah.
You're going to clap. He was going out.
I was in. Yeah.
That was it? Okay.
You know what? Let's throw our coach of the week.
Oh.
I was about to clap to signal that we're
when you fall in the kick.
Let's go to our coach of the week.
Okay. Well, the coach of the week is sponsored by whom?
By the Payne Auto Group.
Hey man, see, I'm looking out for you, Paynes. I need myself a new car. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but here's our coach of the week.
All right.
Yeah, it was a good football game. They had a very good team. They were very good offensively. I think they'd thrown for over 3,000 yards. Quarterback was very accurate, and we defensively played well. I mean, we played well. We played a pretty good game. We played pretty well. It's the most physical we've been both sides of football. So, defensively, we're able to get pressure with our front four, and we were knocking, jamming receivers, knocking them off the routes, disrupting their timing. So defensively, and we're physical. Offensively, we came off the ball and was able to dominate the line of scrimmage. So, overall, it was a very good game for our kids. It's probably the best they played all year, and they were very physical, and that's what you got to be. And hopefully we can, keep it going. We'll find out. But the kids played very well last week.
What do you feel were the keys to winning last week's game?
Well, it was shutting down their offense, their passing game. We disrupted routes and didn't give up the big play, and offense were able to control the football. So we knew that we had to control the football to keep them off the field, and we had to play great defense and disrupt the timing, and that's what we're able to do. And we got some breaks, so they punted the ball, and we punted and hit off one of their kids' helmets, and we recovered, and it's a tie game then, and we were able to go in and score, and then we held them and scored again, and got up 27-0. In the second half, we got the ball. We drove and scored, held them, drove and scored, and were able to put it away. So, there's a little luck on our side too. But defensively, I mean, the key to the game was we disrupted their passing game, and they had a hard time throwing the football, and we were able to get the ball, and we were able to run it and control the clock.
Well, I've regained my composure. I'm not going to run out and jump and run in the streets and throw trash cans. But I get fired up, man. Hey, if we invest so much time in these teams, the cities, the kids, that's the best part about it, Jake. Going to each stadium, seeing all the people, slapping hands, rooting for the kids, quietly, of course, but rooting. And, getting a chance to meet so many people and see all the fanfare, there's nothing like it, man. Now, with that said, I know that we're starting to transition into basketball, but hey, hang with us. Root for these three teams that are going up to carry the Valley Standard. Maybe, just maybe, we'll come back next week and tell you that some amazing things have happened.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd like to see 2 out of 3, continue.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Who was that, Meatloaf?
Yeah.
That? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, horrible 70s music fans here.
Yeah, and I would like to also say this. Special shout out to PI's LB Bennett.
LB Bennett.
After the game, he came up and said he actually liked the show, so at least we know we have one other person.
We have one other fan that doesn't think we're completely horrendous. No, I agree with you. We started this thing way back when in kind of an organic fashion. We weren't sure how it was going to be. At first we said, well, should we be totally crazy? Should we be buttoned up like the networks and say, here's the highlights? So we've tried to strike that balance down the middle. We tried to mention as many kids' names as possible, talk about as many teams as possible. I feel like we spread the wealth like crazy this year. Yeah. We did a lot of St. Joe stuff. They never get any credit.
Yeah, and they're going to be good next year.
I think they will.
But as far as the teams that are still in the playoffs, best of luck from us at 95.6 Sports, because you're
going to need it.
Yeah,
Well,
but as far as you guys go, we'll go with you.
That's right. Hey, if it wasn't tough, it wouldn't mean anything. So go make it happen. We still need to hear from you on the Auburn Valley team. We've gotten a lot of guys calling in, a lot of guys sending emails. So let us know who you think the best players are, and we'll see you next week. The show is done.